Hey everyone, it's Kenlyn and welcome back to my channel. I'm excited to give you this transmission of the minor grand trine with a kite formation at the equinox. This is the threshold crossing that we have been waiting for. There's many threshold crossings, but this is a beautiful opening that signifies the closing of an era, that it's real, that the things that you have been working for as a light worker, a visionary leader, a shaman, a guide, a teacher, this is real. This is the opening into the world that we have been creating. So there's a couple big points that I want to deliver in this message, and I'm going to describe what's happening geometrically so you can see the configuration in your mind's eye. And then we're going to go through the themes that it's evoked, and also you get to apply it to your own life. It's a collective shift as well as a personal shift. So humanity is collectively shifting into a new frequency. That's the headline of this minor grand trine. It's not exact, but it's close to being exact. The planets are 1 to 2 degrees from each other. And I think we can all feel the energy, the excitement, if we're tuning in with eyes to see and ears to hear, as I said in the eclipse video. Then we can see on a different plane and a different level. And certainly Neptune in Pisces is requiring that, because the outer world looks like a lot of breakdown, a lot of scatter, a lot of disharmony, a lot of change and upheaval, extremism, and a fight, a culture war, a fight, decentralization versus centralization. But all of that is because we're closing out an age, we're closing out an era. And the forces, I don't even want to say of darkness, because it's our own darkness, the forces of anti-change in ourselves is also resisting that. But this is a conversation to the part of you that has been working for that change. And you know it's coming. It's in fact why you're here, for that very thing to occur. But you are a human in a body, with the body mind, with conditioning. And so that part of you is feeling the upheaval, and another part of you has been working for the upheaval. And here is our completion point. Here is our graduation point. Here is where you get the certificate of mastery in some area. And that's really good to know what area of your life got that certificate of mastery. And even if you look at the dates, when did that get initiated? And so we're going to talk about a few of those things. Get your pencil and paper out, draw the wheel of the zodiac, place your rising sign in the first house, and then work counterclockwise with the sign so that you know in your own natal chart which house is ruled by which sign. So for me, if I have a Taurus rising in my first house, that means Gemini is in my second house. And then I just go around the wheel. If you don't know what your rising sign is, then you can look at astro.com. I use whole house astrology, which sometimes is a little bit different with the houses, but it makes things a lot easier to understand without sacrificing results. We have some themes that we want to go through for this minor grand trine. So we have the players. The players are outer planets, and they're all retrograde. Now, Neptune and Pluto are familiar players just because of their gravitational pull. They hang out together a lot. They communicate a lot. So this higher octave of love, this higher mind, the place that we came from to be here, is in conversation a lot of the time with Pluto, the Lord of Death and Rebirth. So I kind of think Pluto executes on that Neptunian agenda, the higher mind's agenda. Pluto executes on Earth. Like, okay, they need to go up a level. I'm going to have to put the wrecking ball in here and destroy all of their illusions so they can see with new eyes and hear with new ears. And then we have the wild card, and this is what makes this trine so interesting, is Uranus. Uranus is that great awakener. It is the rapid change agent. Uranus is in Taurus is associated with earthquakes. And so think about earthquakes in your life, breakdowns in your life, as well as geologic earthquakes. Uranus is at 27 degrees Taurus. It's the outer regions of where Uranus has traveled through this sign. And as it gets to that 29-degree point, it will go into 0-degree Gemini. Totally different game for 8 years. And that gives me chills. That's looking ahead. I've had Uranus on my ascendant for 8 years, or almost 8 years by the time that happens. And they say not a lot of stability happens for people with Uranus on their ascendant. And I can vouch for that. So I've been getting worked on who I've been being, my physical body, my beingness on the planet. And that's one of the themes that I'll bring through for myself. And you get to look at where is Taurus in your chart, and then just make a little circle toward that edge between that Taurus and Gemini, because it's at that 27-degree mark. So if we do that, and then we go to the Neptune, and Neptune is retrograde in Pisces at the 28-degree time. So let's put a little dot at Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces, and not quite into Aries, just on the edge. Then let's put a little dot where Pluto is now, and that's in Capricorn. So where's that in your chart? Also at that 29-degree point. So we have this Pluto playing in one area of your chart, Neptune at the top playing in another area of your chart, and then we have the Uranus in Taurus energy. So Pisces, Taurus, and Capricorn. Those are the energies that are playing. And then we have at the equinox, or prior, just before the equinox, let's be clear, because the equinox is 0-degree Libra. At the 28-degree, when the sun is at 28 degrees of Virgo, opposite that Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, we have the sun holding it down as the kite formation. So you think about it as a kite and then that little tail, and the sun is the one holding it down. What is getting illuminated? It's a very interesting time to look back and really get the lesson. You know, this is the time before we are getting our diploma, that we're revisiting, you know, that slideshow that your parents made you or your friends made you at your graduation party before the ceremony, where you're revisiting your entire curriculum, and you look at your hair and you're like, whoa, that was my hair back then, or that was what I used to wear. And you can see how far you've come, how far you've changed, who you've been being, and what is now important to you. What lessons did you learn? So that's the territory we're going in. And if you can identify those in your chart, then you're going to know some of the themes. So as I mentioned, like my Taurus first house, I have Pluto in Capricorn, which is in my 9th house. And then my 11th is where Pisces is. The big theme for me is when Pluto entered Capricorn is when I began my teachings with Kundalini Yoga. It was a game changer. My dog was very sick. And then a year and a half later, my dog died. And she was my primary attachment at the time. She's my soul dog. And some of you have seen the film that I made on her, of loving and letting her go. I still can cry when I watch that 12 years later. And what happened was that initiated me into some deep healing. As a result, I had actually freed up time. So I went to India for a month and did teacher training in Kundalini Yoga. And when I look at it, you know, because that 9th house is the house of the occult, it's higher education, it's foreign travel, it's also these mystical teachings and these learnings and belief systems. It's also gurus. So there was a guru and there was a belief system, and I was a part of it, and it really worked for me, and it helped me heal, and it helped me change and grow. And then fast forward to 2020, when those oppositions and conjunctions happened in 2020 that began that Plutonian wrecking ball, all of a sudden, all of this information comes out about Kundalini Yoga and its founder, and the sexual and legal and financial abuses and the systemic abuses. And that was a moment for me, because I had to let go of a very dear teaching. Like, I remember thinking to myself, I always wanted a tradition. I always wanted a teaching that I could devote myself to. Now, I never wore a turban or changed my name, but in my heart, I felt very devoted to the practice and the whole mythology around it. And it was really a part of me. I love to chant mantras, and I was just chanting all the time. And some of you came to my classes. So you could see, like, I was deeply invested. And that's the Plutonian wrecking ball. So I'm using this as an example because it wasn't just the removal of a belief, a system, a guru. It was also Pluto taking back my power. That part of me that wanted to be safe inside of a container where somebody just told me how to access God, and I would have never admitted that, right? It was not in the forefront of my mind, but now looking back and having the visibility, and that's really what you get to do for your life, I see, oh, I really wanted to have some certainty somewhere and to believe in something. Totally ninth house rules beliefs, 100%. And so, of course, the wrecking ball had to happen in my house of beliefs, because I had to grow up and come into myself. And what does that mean? It means the Pluto lesson is don't give away your power. And you don't need to substitute a belief. You can tolerate the uncertainty, the not knowing. And I said this on the eclipse video, to include more truths than just that truth. And sometimes any belief system can be highly dogmatic and in the name of purity, and that's what a lot of people were saying in the Kundalini tradition. Like, we have to wear white, and we have to wear a head thing, we have to eat certain foods, and we have to get up at 4 o'clock, and we have to do these things. And they're not bad in it. It's a dogma. It's a religion. And some call it a cult. And I think that it had a lot of vestiges of a cult. Fortunately, the cult leader was dead by the time I got into it, but for some people, they remember being a part of that cult. So that's what had to die. And as a result, I blossomed into my own self. And I don't have to disparage that lesson, because it actually has come full circle to my power, my own power. And that's what's happened to you. So if you look back at that time when Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008, and there was that housing crisis, the financial crisis, kind of look at what was happening. So then look through, because we're also looking at what happened in the house of Aries before Uranus. This is really what I'm looking at, is before Uranus moved into Taurus, Uranus was in Aries. And so what was happening in Aries for you? What new beginnings? So for me, it was in my subconscious. So something was being pushed away so that something new could come through. That was 2010 to 2018. And that for me was when that Pluto got highly catalyzed during that time. So if I look at the dates, 2010, my dog gets sick. 2012, my dog dies. And then we fast forward 2018, I finally step into the role that I'm occupying now, the beginning of that role of being a coach. 2017, I launched my book. This eclipse touches the 2016-17 period. So kind of having a little graduation party for yourself and revisiting some memories, and for the purpose of learning and celebrating how far you've come and what the lesson is that you've learned. Because here's the thing. Now that we've learned that lesson in whatever area, and Pluto is about taking your power, so I'm curious to see where Pluto was in your chart, where Uranus was in your chart, and what power did you take back? It's because now we've gone up a level. So remember, states and stages, we've gone up a stage. That's a level of development. It's a worldview. Chances are, if you're listening to this, you are of the people who are ascending in worldview, not just a state of consciousness, but a stage where you actually developed and grew yourself up, and you've gone up a worldview. And that's something to celebrate. So knowing what that is now poises you on new ground. You're on new ground. And so the question is, what is next for you? That's what this trine is implicating. The old is done, and not just for your life. It's fun to just see where it impacts your life. But these are outer planets affecting humanity. So let's look at it this way. For you to do your job as a midwife, as a priestess, as a shaman, a guide, a healer, a teacher, you had to go through that cycle to get to this new cycle where chances are you now have stepped into your gifts. You're now doing the thing that old cycle was preparing you to do. And so we have a soul completion. Isn't that amazing to be able to witness that we had a soul completion? That's what we're in right now. And we get our certificate of mastery. And it's a new understanding of your soul mission. So now my mission is not the mission that it was. I didn't know if I was going to be a Kundalini yoga teacher. I just knew that I needed to immerse myself in that and use it as a way to create the capacity for grit, to not collapse in the middle of criticism, failure, things not working out the way that I want them to work out, holding possibility over time. You know, that's one of the hardest things to do. You have a vision, and of course, visions are meted out over a long period of time, and most people quit before that happens because they don't have the grit. And so those were the things. I was cultivating the grit. And now I have the grit. I know how to hold possibility over time. Yes, it sucks sometimes. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I cry, break down, but there's nothing in me that completely collapses. And even if I do, I get back up pretty quickly. So that's probably happened in your life as well. So you're moving forward in your life. And I'm going to say it this way, because of what you surrendered, because this is an eclipse theme, we got to bring that word in. And I think that's important because I surrendered Kundalini yoga. Now, not everyone did surrender, and I don't judge them. I just know I cannot play that game. Like, it's like their roots were toxic and I can't play the game. But I had Pluto in the 9th house. So I had to surrender that very dear practice. And indeed, the healing practice, the lifeline, all the things I had to kill it when I stopped officially teaching. That's really when it happened. So what have you surrendered? What did you have to die to? What did you have to give up during that time? Maybe it was, a husband. Maybe it was a child. Maybe it was parents. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was a job. Maybe it was your health. Each of the houses along the wheel represent all of that stuff. And so you can get a little more visibility. I would have never connected it to Kundalini yoga, to giving away my power, to letting go of a tradition that really fed my soul. Never. But through contemplation of my chart, that's what I saw. Now, of course, there's a million other letting goes. I had lots of breakups during that time, lots of relationships, all the things. But when I think about power and giving away my power, and I think about the theme of Uranus, which is who I am, first house, I am me. That has been a game changer. I couldn't do what I'm doing. I wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for Uranus and if it weren't for Pluto. So let's just bow right now to those great teachers, the Lord of Death, the Lord of Rebirth, the Lord of Awakening Your Ass. And then let's bow to Neptune, that higher octave of love, the universal love, the fabric of the universe, saying, you know what? All of that is for love. I love you so much that this is how the storyline's going to go. Don't get attached to the storyline, but we got to do the lesson, okay? And it's going to be about your power. It's going to be about you showing up as you. I know you want to hide, but we're going to fix that. And it's going to take 10 years. Right? So think of those for yourself, extend the blessings to yourself, extend the congratulations to yourself. All right. So the question is, what's next? What's ended? Where are you going? This is the receiving of new light body awareness. This is really exciting. I've had little awakenings into my light body, and I shared one of them about how I was in Tulum in early 2023 and how I had a light body awakening. Now, it was very Uranian, and Uranus awakens and then it goes away. It's not sustained. And that's what it was. It was totally unexpected. And it was ironically in a Kundalini activation process, which was nothing like Kundalini yoga. Interesting, it had the name. I also have that gene key, so I'm not going to get away from that energy. So we're expanding, our light body's expanding, and spiritual truths. We're going to understand, because this Neptune influence, Neptune represents oneness, and Neptune in Pisces, oneness. And we're going to understand more of that cosmic self, the oneness self, the unity self, the self that is you and me. We're going to understand more of that with this trine. And again, this trine, not the kite, because again, the kite is just for that pre-equinox period, illuminating. So the sun illuminating some things for us, but this formation is going to last throughout 2025. So we have some time to anchor in new spiritual truths. This is the part that I really want to open you to, because you have been waiting for this. If you're a medicine healer, guide, shaman, light worker, you've only been playing with a very small percentage of what's possible. And it isn't that the light hasn't been there, because I think we're in the middle of receiving, as Pam Gregory says, we're in this photon belt receiving the light. But honestly, our capacity for receiving the light has been, it's like an aperture. We could only take in so much, and we have to open the lens. And this completion is the opening of being able to receive more light. And if we look at the gene keys, and the gene keys are all about the receiving of more light to activate our energetic DNA, the codes in our DNA, to step into the gift frequency and the highest level frequency, to move out of shadow. And there's a collective movement through 2027 to get there. So I think this is part of how we get there. This is the cosmic support of how we get there. Damn, I think this was like one of the most important transmissions I've given all year. I hope that it lands for you and that you're really taking it in, because it's a fucking game changer. We are stepping into that, and we're not going to see it right away. These are over time. but just know, like pencil in, placeholder in, you were here when. So we had to go through the karmic BS. We did. I had to go deep into my attachment wound. I had to go deep into my disempowerment. It wasn't pretty. I'm sure for your story, it was not pretty. It's just not. We had to take on some risk. And I love that because the risk is what Uranus is bringing. Uranus is risky. And it's saying, yeah, you're so damn comfortable. Pluto comes in and wrecks it. And then Uranus makes a new opening. And for me, the new opening is in the first house. Where was your new opening? What did you get invited to walk through? Like really, my physical being, the fact that I'm on camera, that is a total opening of Uranus. I had to take a risk. There were times I couldn't handle it. So you have the same story. Oh my goddess, this is huge. All right. So lastly, let's kind of end with this. Yeah, it's a celebration. You get to be recognized by your higher self, really by your higher self. So take a moment to have that conversation between you and your higher self. We don't do this enough, but just recognize that you did it. You did it. All the pain, all the turmoil, all the anguish, you're here now. And even if your life looks like shit, it doesn't matter. You're here now. You're in your whole new state of consciousness. So receive some recognition from your higher self and allow that the rewards are going to come. Allow the rewards to come. Please allow the rewards to come. You worked for it. Life made sure. Pluto made sure you worked for it. Pluto made sure you died. You died. And now there's a new you. And we're just beginning to know that new us, which is why we can end with this, and we'll pick it up in many, many themes in the future. And that is that the vision that we held for ourselves. So here right now, I'm going to say it this way. Right now, I am the fruition of the vision I had for myself. Even though I was terrified and I never thought I would be on camera or showing, or even on YouTube, never, ever in a million years. I still had a vision of myself because I knew deep down that I had the codes of leadership. I knew it. But I just didn't feel recognized because I wasn't ready. I had to go through the fire. I had to die. I had to clean up the wounds, the attachment. And so I am the fruition of the vision that I had then. And here's where it gets good. I get to have a new vision. That it's done. I've achieved it. So what's next? What's the soul mission next? So if you've been judging yourself, this is time to stop. That judging is getting in the way of your recognition, of your higher self's recognition of you. You need to take true stock of how far you've come and realize that however far you've come, that is the fruition of the vision you've had for yourself. And that is now complete. Take your certificate of mastery. And then we go into a quiet space and we begin to receive the vision of who we're becoming, who our future self is in 20 years, because this next Pluto cycle is 19 years. So in 19 years, I'll see you here or wherever, whatever platform we're doing, or maybe we're telepathic, I don't know. If we're still alive, I'm going to see you here, or maybe we're multidimensional and we can remember this moment of the being that we're becoming. So it's our time to dream. It's our time to connect into Neptune. The Pisces lunar eclipse is opening us up to the dream time. If we're willing to completely let go of the past. Now, it doesn't mean I have to change my name or move or get rid of people in my life. Some will stay, you know, some will go and some will stay. There is a continuity, and we get to dream the new dream, not only for us personally, because I think we have to include the collective and Earth in our next dream. We can't leave Earth out. We can't leave the collective out. Pluto in Aquarius is demanding that it's all of us. So, what's your vision for all of us? What's your vision for Mother Earth? All right, let's gather all the positive energy that we have generated. You might need to listen to this more than one time. I probably will listen to it only because sometimes, you know, when I'm channeling this message, it's different than receiving it. So let's gather all that positive energy, like work it in our hands like this gold plasma of light, and then beam it out as stardust. Thanking the outer planets, thanking our personal planets. The cosmos without is the cosmos within. And as we gather all of this incredibly positive energy that we are generating together right now, we dedicate it to the merits. May all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. We are so held. We are so held. We are so loved. I'll see you on the next video.